Welcome to the Champion Design Workshop number 8. My name is Counterfeit, joined today by a special guest because Exodus wasn't able to be around, but the unofficial third member of the Champion Design Workshop is finally coming to bless your ears with her voice. Happy, welcome.
Hello!
If you're confused as to why there was a trumpet being played there, do not be fooled. It wasn't a real trumpet. It was Happy the whole time.
Yeah, it's me.
So Happy, so when we've been doing these streams, like you've basically been just like co-designing it from the sidelines the whole time. How does it feel to now be in an official position as opposed to just doing all the work without getting any of the credit?
Well, I did get some credit at the end.
Well, that's true.
And I don't know, it doesn't really feel any different. It's just it's just the talking that's different.
Well, what we are talking about today is we're coming up with a, I want to say original, but it's not really original. Like, it's... So, Happy, you're relatively kind of knowledgeable about the League of Legends backstory, whereas I'm still kind of building my way up to it. But one of the characters I think everyone's heard of because of the item Blade of the Ruined King is the Ruined King. For anybody who's not familiar with his character in the League of Legends backstory, could you kind of give everyone like a kind of a brief overview of his increasingly bizarre appearance in League of Legends lore?
Well, I can try.
Yeah.
So, the Ruined King wasn't always a Ruined King. Used to be quite normal, just a king, really nice one actually. And he ruled over an area that's now Naxos, I believe, maybe a little bit of Demacia, but who really cares? Anyway, his wife fell ill, and he was really sad about this. So he asked one of his trusted lieutenants to travel to the Blessed Isles, because he heard that in that area there might be a cure for the sickness of his wife.
So this wasn't just any lieutenant though, was it?
No, it was Callista, another champion in League. And she did what she could. She traveled to the Blessed Isles and she asked the people to heal the wife of the king. But they told her that the queen had to be brought to the Blessed Isles. And I feel like they already maybe knew that it was too late or something, but they didn't really tell her all about the cure. So Callista just traveled back and told the king, but she was already too late. The queen was dead.
Oh no!
The king felt mad.
Ah!
Everybody was sad.
No!
I don't know. Yeah. But the king, the Mad King in that sense, still wanted to do everything to get his wife back. So he asked Callista to travel to the Blessed Isles with him. He also brought a whole lot of other people for, I don't know, many
name recognition.
reason. Yeah. He brought Hecarim, another lieutenant of his, who becomes more important in a second, because as they arrive at the Blessed Isles, the Mad King demands the people to resurrect his dead wife, and the people from the Blessed Isles obviously refuse. The king asks Callista to kill all the people. Callista's like, what the heck, no! And then Hecarim backstabs her.
Maximum damage.
Yeah. The whole entirety of the Blessed Isles gets turned into death and destructed stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, this is... We didn't, like, fully research this, which is possibly a detriment to ourselves, but from what I found from a forum thread, apparently Thresh gets involved, even though, like, yeah, there's already too many existing League of Legends characters in this story. And tricks the currently mad, soon-to-be ruined king into trying to perform a resurrection spell. No, that's right, sorry. Thresh gives the king an item which will make his wife come back from the dead as a spoopy ghost, a la Harry Potter. But in the same way, she is not too chill with this, and she just wants to go back to being Deb. So rather than just say turning the device off or whatever, you need to cast another spell to kind of stop it, I think. And if this forum post is to be believed, and maybe we should have researched this a bit more, that he cast the spell to put his wife back in the ground again, but because it's on the Blessed Isles, which has got lots of magical items there, it makes the spell more powerful, and therefore kills everybody on the Blessed Isles, and somehow turns Callista into a spirit of vengeance and Hecarim into a horseman.
Woo!
I believe there were other people riding horses there, so I don't know if there's like other horse people around.
That probably is. But Hecarim is just the strongest and most stabby person, so we all know him. We all hate him.
So, okay, so we end up in a position where we've got a character who kind of dropped out of the story at this point. Like, it's not, I don't believe at least, that he's mentioned beyond that point. So, he's pretty wide open in terms of what we can do with him. So, Happy, you had some ideas about what kind of... So, as we now decided to, let's make this guy into a champion. Like, we talked a little bit before the stream started about what kind of stuff would logically make sense for, personality-wise for the king. So, where do we end up with?
We ended up with him being mad, of course. Also very desperate, but still driven towards his end goal, with which we decided to be death, like full-on super duper death, not this weird limbo that he finds himself in between, like, life and death as a specter of the Shadow Isles. And the problem with that is, like, not the problem, but like, we thought that in order to reach his end goal, he has to kill people. And he really wants to do that because he wants to finally be dead and join his wife in death. But he's very morally ambiguous about it because he knows that he has already caused so much destruction and death and despair in other people because of the creation of the Shadow Isles, and maybe because he knows that the Mist and the other specters of the Shadow Isles kill people during the harrowing.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I'm trying to remember all of the Shadow Isles stuff now. So, yes, for anyone who's watched this and thinking, why didn't you guys research more? We came up with this idea just before we went on air, so that's the reason why. So, yeah, if we got the... So that, yes, I forgot about the whole harrowing thing.
Really?
Yeah, well, it's been a while, hasn't it? They've kind of stopped doing it.
I feel like they didn't do it this year, at least. Or like the last harrowing wasn't a harrowing. They did something different.
Yeah, it's like, it does feel like...
Oh, it was KDA. KDA was this year.
Oh, okay, so they kind of like just took over that space.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, so he's kind of like a... It feels like he's got a lot in common with, sort of thematically, he's got, he's somewhere between Swain and Mordekaiser, I guess, in terms of what physical appearance. That's what's coming into my mind. Is that the same sort of thing for you?
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about one of the concept pictures for Jarvan.
Okay.
But I don't think that really applies because he's Demacian and the Rune King was more in the Noxus area. Although, back when he ruled, not ruined, back when he ruled, there was no Demacia and no Noxus, so maybe he had kind of like a merged version of Demacian armor and whatever the people in Noxus were.
Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, so appearance, Noxus, Demacia, hybrid, theming.
But I like the idea of Swain because of his floaty coat thingy that he wears over his shoulders.
Okay, so we've got a flowy coat in the same vein as Swain. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can live with that.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of like a more regal. I guess you just stick a crown on Swain and call it a day.
No.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can find that Jarvan concept art, but if not, we won't worry about it. But okay.
It's probably somewhere.
So let's see. So would you say that they are? Are they like? I think one of the things we got from the backstory was that they were a sorcerer king.
Mm-hmm.
So are they tall, short, muscular, skinny, or does any of that kind of seem to make sense to you in terms of what kind of person, what kind of appearance they would have?
Well, what do all the other sorcerers in League look like?
Let's have a look. So if we look at Swain, who I guess... So Swain is basically just like Lucius Malfoy.
Right. I sent you the link to the universe page.
Okay.
And it should
right,
show
yes.
a picture of Poodles in your journey.
Okay, I think I'll have to... Yes, I'll have to save that picture. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good... like, base image to use as inspiration. So let's put it onto the page. And move us around a little bit. So he used to look like generic Damacian prince.
Yeah. I feel like he looks like kind of like Legolas with armor.
Okay, I like it. So Legolas with armor and coat. Okay. So let's see if we can find a... I was going to try and find the most ridiculous looking image of Legolas I can, and I think I have. So there we go. Excellent.
Oh god.
So yes, so if you imagine that face on that body, and there you go.
And then you just throw like Swain's coat on top of this.
I think I could do that. Let's
That
see.
should be fine.
Brilliant. There you go. It's a character concept done immediately.
Beautiful.
Top quality content. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that works totally fine. Like, he needs to have like the spectral effect on him, which I guess we can simulate with some... do we get to change colour on here?
Maybe in the color palette?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we go. So if he's a ghost, he needs to have a ghosty crown. And a ghosty sad face. Brilliant.
Ah.
And, yeah, maybe some ghosty bits on him, just for the sake of it. Just to make clear he's a ghost, if you weren't sure already.
Nice.
And a big G for ghost.
A big G.
Honestly, I'm sold on him already. He's like the most compelling League of Legends character.
Yep.
Okay, so we did have a bit of a talk about what kinds of things that this person could do. So one of the reasons why I thought it would be important for us to establish what his personality was like, which in this case is that he's, kind of, he's not like, because you get someone like Warwick and you understand that he's supposed to be kind of a feral beast and that he enjoys what he's doing. So it makes a lot of sense for them to be kind of like really sort of, they're flinging themselves at people and just kind of like swiping them over and over and over again. Sort of fits with the thematic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also trying to come up with a way to make this person want to actually build the Blade of the Ruined King item. So we kind of ended up with the idea of him maybe being, as a broad character concept, a kind of a brawler sorcerer, I guess? Would that be fair?
Sure.
So he's...
Yeah.
Actually, I'll maybe put that in at the top just to... So, brawler, sorcerer... I don't... I guess maybe mage. So, some of the stuff we've been throwing around is the whole idea of him being... Well, actually, I mean, this is your idea initially. So what was some of the broad concepts to try and bring the ideas of a mage and a brawler together?
So the idea was, he's the Ruin King, so he has to build Borg. But he's also a mage, so how do we do that? And I thought it would be good if he was kind of like an AD caster with very long ability cooldowns. And in order to reduce those cooldowns, he had to auto-attack people. So he just walks up, auto-attacks them like, I don't know, 4 times, and then he gets his Q back up or something.
Okay. So if we're thinking like... Because yeah, I think that's a cool idea, because I don't think it's really... I'm trying to think what would be the... Well, we're talking about stuff that's kind of got some ties to what this would be like already, so that it's easy to sort of get the concept of what's going on here. Because I think the idea of being able to reduce cooldowns, you know, is very much in the game already. But I don't think, apart from, I think Karma with a mantra does have that effect, but it's not super central. It's just kind of something that happens.
Ezreal has it as well, I think. With like if you land Qs, you get reduced cooldown on your ultimate.
That's true. So Karma and Ezreal. So we know that if we're kind of like roughly in their design area, we're not like a million miles off base. Okay, so let's start stripping out some of this stuff and try and make it a bit more. So what were you thinking, Happy? Like between, you know, is this going to be a long range or a short range kind of character?
Short range would make more sense. Because if he was long range, it would be really OP. He could just stand like a mile away and attack you, and then get his stuff back, attack you even more.
So if we're talking short range, are we talking melee range, or are we talking like maybe Rakan kind of?
Oh right, Rakan is a thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's like medium, almost medium range.
Okay, so it's like yeah, so it's like it's a. I guess he can even use his, like, have a big old sword and just whack people with it.
Yep.
So I guess it's like a big cloud-esque sword. Hey, Hero Gaming Simon. Good to see ya. This is Happy's first time on the live desk.
Oh! I feel like maybe his sword just looks kind of like the Blade of the Ruined King.
Oh yeah, no, that would make sense. Yeah, no, that would make total sense. I mean, that's one of the things in League of Legends, isn't it? That no one really has weapons that really correspond to what they're doing. Like, Ashe doesn't like fire infinity edges at people.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah, and all the items are just like, you know, this is a stick, and if you combine it with another stick, you get a hat. It's really, really weird.
Okay, so yeah, so we've got the basic idea there. So let's clear out some of this stuff. So let's move the personality across. So I think the personality should be something which we're keeping fairly closely in mind while we're doing all this stuff. But I think a lot of the other stuff has. it's kind of working notes, so let's move it down. So all right, so we've got this guy who looks, I don't know Hero Game Time if you were here for this, but who looks just like this, just in case you want to get the full experience. There you go.
What a beautiful face. No! What did you do?
Honestly, that's even better.
Okay.
Sorted.
Can you make it a bit smaller, maybe?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I feel like it would fit the hat better.
Let's see. I don't know if I can. If I... Just a sec. I'll do a little bit of editing work on it while we're talking. And it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it would paint 3D. Anyway, that's not the most important thing right now, anyway. So, alright, so we've got this guy who runs around the place whacking stuff. And he's all sorts of sad about it. He's like, ooh, oh, I wish I didn't have to whack you in the face, but honestly, you know, what other option do I have?
Right. But
So,
he kind of, like, he's always looking for another option. So if somebody comes along and is like, you know, if I just snap my fingers real hard, then you're gonna die and everything's fine, then he would be the happiest little chap in the world.
Alright, well, I'll tell you what, let's start going through just banging out abilities. So, the idea I had was to put lifesteal on his spells.
Right.
To try and motivate you down the route of building Blade of the Ruined King, but not making it so it's completely obligatory. Just that it's, you know, you get a bit more reward from it. So, I mean, that's not much of a passive, admittedly. Like, did you have any initial thoughts as to what we could put in as a kind of passive for him?
I mean, the most obvious thing would be that if he auto-attacks people, he gets cooldown reduction for spells.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's say small amount.
Okay.
I think getting trapped into actually giving numbers is always a bit of a problem. So now we get to the actual kit itself. So this guy's pretty wide open as far as, you know, what kind of stuff he could put in here, because, you know, he doesn't... His only notable acts in the lore are to accidentally kill everybody by... Well, he was trying to kill one person who was a ghost. So I don't know. Hey, Pose OP, good to see you. And also, Hero Gaming Simon says hello to you, Happy.
Aw, hello.
If it Pose or Hero Gaming, if you guys have got any thoughts about what you would think would make sense in the Ruined King's kit, then one of the reasons why we're streaming this rather than just doing it as a YouTube series is to try and you know, get those kind of suggestions. But okay, so I think if we just like throw around some ideas and just see what ends up staying, and I think if we don't get too married to anything too quickly, and then we can just like throw away. So if the basic idea of this guy is long cooldown abilities, what kind of abilities were you thinking would make sense to be on a long cooldown that you would be motivated to earn back?
Maybe AoE stuff.
Okay.
But that wouldn't fit the queue. Like most queues in game are skill shots, and I feel like AoE is more reserved for like R or W.
Okay, well let's go with okay, let's put an AoE ability on W. That's totally fine. I was thinking that, like, because I'm trying not to be too obvious with a lot of this stuff, but maybe that's the most obvious thing I can think of is that you have a crowd control effect that you throw out, which you can then earn back, so you can keep on somebody. It's like maybe like a...
Oh, maybe that could be the skill shot actually. Something like a hook or a tether, like Karma's W, that you throw out and maybe slow somebody or silence.
Oh, what about this? Because you know the whole thing with Blitzcrank that you smite minions to get your hook out of the way.
Right.
What about a hook where it extends the range if you kill something with it?
So if you hook through a minion and you kill the minion, then it's a longer hook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be a Q or an E ability?
Well, if it's a skill shot, I'm still down to put it on Q.
Okay. So hook. So reduced. Sorry. Extended range when killing a minion. So the intention here is to hook opponent and then hit them enough to hook again. So I guess if we look into the hook area of champion design, we've got the straight. So death sentence allows you to pull yourself to them. The bone skewer sort of splits the difference, lets you pull them to you, or I'm trying to remember now. I don't really play very much Pike.
Yeah, same. I think it just
pulls
pulls
them
them
back
towards you.
Yeah, it pulls them
Yeah.
towards you, doesn't it? But it can pull them behind you potentially.
No, that's just because a lot of people use the bone skewer to pull people towards them, and then they use the, what is it, phantom undertow to skip past them and stun them in place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought if you use it as a stab, it would flip someone over your head.
No, if you use it as a stab, it's just more damage.
Okay. Well, so the other one, primary one, I guess, would be Blitzcrank, who grabs you and brings you to him.
Right.
So, I don't know, which of those three would you think would make the most sense? Because they all basically end up with the same... You end up in roughly the same position, which is that you close distance. But what happens at that point is quite different.
I think maybe it's just like a hook that hooks a person in place, so you just like you can walk up to them and start attacking them, since his attack range is so low.
Okay, so like kind of like a harpoon kind of thing.
Yeah, or like a trap net, the one that Rengar uses.
Okay, similar to bear trap. Okay, yeah, I quite like that idea. So it could be like a, I don't know, like a javelin or something. If I could spell that.
No.
Yeah?
I think there's an E in there somewhere, yeah.
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 Okay, yeah, I kind of like that idea. Whoops. So he lobs a javelin at people, and then that seems like a kind of cool thing. So you're kind of, yeah, I like the idea of sort of stealing that Blitzcrank combo and making that into a explicit thing that you can do. Alright, so if we're going on to the W then, the AoE, so currently we've got someone who walks up and whacks people, and he doesn't have a gap closer, but he has a way to lock down a specific single target.
Right.
So, alright, so AoE ability, so broadly speaking, what kind of thing were you thinking his AoE would do?
Maybe a slow or an AoE silence, like Soraka's the E?
Okay, so slow or silence.
Because that will fit better with the theme of death and deathness and more death. Because in death you can't talk anymore. And in, like, at the verge of death, you also don't really skip through the planes in a fast manner.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe he opens a window to the afterlife or something.
To the death realm.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Because we already have the particle effects from the Mordekaiser ult, the new one. And you could apply that to his W.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. Because if his whole thing is that he's trying to break through to the Death Realm, maybe maybe it's a very very temporary thing that you can open it up just for a moment. Okay, so I guess this is something I'm trying to do a bit more with the design. Is trying to think. So, what does this functionally speaking? What does this do in terms of his engagement pattern or whatever? Is this something he would use to stop people from getting away from him?
Yeah. Or you just use your hook, and if you land, you can place the W right in that spot, so they can't flash away if it's slow. No, if it's a silence. Or if it's a slow, it could have the grounding effect that miasma from Cassiopeia has.
So it's basically like a. I know there's going to be a lot of this because there's so many champions with so many abilities already, but it's a bit like the Singe Glue.
Yeah, sure.
So we probably would need something that will make it a little bit different than them. Yeah, actually, I suppose maybe if it's just a very long cooldown. And maybe it's very short range as well.
Right.
So that, yeah, once he gets up on somebody, he's able to stay on them, and because it's it has functionality as a 1v1 tool, but it also has some teamfight utility in that you kind of cut off a certain section of the map.
True.
Okay, so yeah, that sounds good to me. So yeah, so we've got he hooks someone in, runs up to them, and then drops down this
this thingy, this portal to the Death Realm.
Something like that. Yeah. Probably needs a more snappy name than that, but whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Oop. Ah.
Oh my god, what's happening?
I don't know. Okay, so yeah, we've got that going on. So I guess he needs some kind of mobility here. Because at the moment he doesn't have any, and if he's supposed to be up in people's faces, I'm thinking that the current kit is pretty straightforward, so there's definitely a fair amount of complexity budget left over at this point. So if we wanted to go for something goofy, this would probably be the place to do it.
So maybe he has something like Camille's hookshot, where he can attach himself to terrain and then boost off of that in some sort of way. But I don't know how this would work with the whole thematic.
Because yeah, me and Exodus would always just give everyone a Zac leap because it's the most straightforward.
A dash.
I mean, to be fair, the new one, Kiana has basically has got 2 small dashes built into the kit.
You could have to play around with the whole glimpse of the Death Realm. He could have something similar that he can put on the ground where he wants to be, and then blink towards that point. So it's kind of mobility, but it has blinks and dashes and leaps and stuff like that. They are different from a game design perspective, right?
So were you thinking maybe this could be part of the Glimpse of the Death Realm thing?
Yeah, maybe. So he doesn't have to use it as a tool to disrupt engages or disrupt team fights or whatever, but he can also use it to teleport right into the team fight.
Okay, so maybe it's not short range. Maybe it's
very long range.
Yes, okay, so it's long ranged. Maybe he puts, so it's like a realm warp effect. That maybe only takes I suppose this is a good enough trap as anything. So it's say That, yeah, actually that's kind of cool. So it's taking an Equinox effect and the Realm Warp and kind of banging them together, and being like that it opens up an AoE, which that AoE will have a negative effect, and also a not a Morkaiser, a Ruined King will turn up there, like part way through.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I suppose if if I think that's a cool idea actually. Yeah, maybe the whole thematic idea is that he's strong enough to kind of like to tear open or sort of venture in there very, very momentarily.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a cool idea. Because the whole idea of going in by yourself, like I kind of feel like that ability sort of mitigates its own power with how it works. Because if it's only himself, then you don't generally want to realm warp into the middle of the opposing team.
Right. And I think it would only make sense if it was only himself, because all the other people on his team can't glimpse into the Death Realm.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to, or whatever.
Okay. Yes, I realised that so usual host access, I think his messages didn't come through for a while. So I'm just saying he wasn't at home today. Okay. But yes, don't worry, we'll get it sorted out in the future. So yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I think that's a really cool idea.
Nice.
I'm calling him Ruined for short. Mainly so he could be called Ruined, the Ruined King.
Ruined. I think he has a name, and I think it's somewhere in the story.
Oh really?
So it would be XYZ the Ruined King, because like it's ridiculous to like imagine your mother naming you the Ruined King. That's like pretty mean.
So I think looking at there's a Reddit thread by Remondi 3 years ago, which is talking about this, and it seems to indicate that he wasn't named. So I think we could come up with anything we like, really. I mean, the most ridiculous name for him would be a combination of Callista, Hecarim, and Thresh, who are all the backstories.
No! I'm against this.
I'm 100% behind the... Wait, what would that be? Who else was it?
Hecarim.
Thrillista.
Rim. Nope. Nope.
Thrillista Rim.
No!
Sounds like a great mouthwash.
Oh, shit.
Excellent. Everything's going according to plan. Alright, so Thrillista... That's a hard name to say. We could just call him Lister.
Lister.
Alright, so... Yeah, I think that's a really cool... ability. I don't think anything quite like that. I think probably the Abyssal Voyage is the closest. But... yeah, I think that's kind of cool. And I think it also ties to his thematic pretty well, which is nice. So if W is his mobility ability, which doesn't necessarily need to be on W, it could be on E, it doesn't really matter. So we've got his gap, we've got two forms of gap closing. No, sorry, we've got one form of gap closing, one form of CC. So...
Two forms of CC.
Oh,
Because
that's true, yes.
the W is kind of all in one.
So something you mentioned before when we were discussing this off stream was the idea of a range extension. So that could potentially be a thing on his E.
Yeah, maybe. It's just a buff that he applies to his auto attacks. So he can temporarily be arranged or like semi-ranged champion.
Okay, so we just need to have something interesting that happens. So if it's like a not like a toggle, but kind of like a cool, again, probably a long cooldown auto attack buff. What does it actually do?
What do you mean?
I'm thinking that the if we built again on the death thing that he's trying to sort of harvest. I know harvesting souls is a really overdone thing in League of Legends at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he's got like a Thresh building up power kind of thing that's that if he uses it on a minion to kill them, it kind of like stores up power, but if he uses it to hit a champion, it expends that power?
Maybe.
I don't know if just doing more damage is enough. I mean, I don't know if necessarily you should just have like every ability is some form of crowd control.
Nah, I feel like that would overload his kit too much.
But okay, so if we think about how he's going to play, so if the Ruin King's whole thing is that he teleports all over the place, which is an interesting idea. I guess if we try and sort of hit on what is his E kind of doing for him. Like, so if he teleports in, he hooks somebody into place. In lane, he would use that to go for a minion. But what does his E let him do apart? Is it just more damage, or is it something else that helps him function as a champion?
I feel like the fact that he attacks faster or attacks people from further away just makes it easier for him to get his other abilities back, especially his Q. So if he just, like, the Q doesn't have a super long cooldown, I think. It's just like, I don't know, maybe a Thresh cooldown.
Okay, sure.
And you just hook someone in place, and then you use your E to immediately start attacking them as you walk towards them. Then get your Q back up, then you can use your Q again, and then maybe the person is already dead because you're so strong.
Okay, so maybe it's a... Okay, yeah. So I think this could work. How about the idea that it's the auto attack range extension for the first hit?
Like a rapid fire cannon?
Yes, and then as a follow up, like buffs auto attack speed.
Yeah, so you get like 3 or 4 auto attacks that are super fast.
Yeah, so it gives you a telegraphed, I'm probably going to be going in now because a lot of my ability to function in short range is tied to this, the cooldown of this ability. So it's a bit like a, oh gosh, the Cogmore. It's a bit like Cogmore.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can live with that. Can we think of a good thematic? Is there anything thematic about this?
No, it's just tied to the Borg item.
Okay, let's call it Whack 'em Good then.
Yep.
Okay, I like it.
Whack 'em good.
Whack 'em good. And it also makes the Ruin King almost into a Gromp, where if you can like see them even very temporarily when they get this, they kind of go into their rage mode, then you're avoiding a lot of their potential damage.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I think we've got a semi-coherent champion. The big thing, of course, is going to be what we do with the ultimate.
True that. I was thinking about just copy-pasting the old Mordekaiser ult.
Well, let's see. So if we talk about the old Mordekaiser ult, so because they obviously didn't want to keep it in the game as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say were like the good points and the bad points of the Mordekaiser ult?
I like the dot. So he just applied it to you, and then you had like a few moments of like realizing that you were cursed and that you were probably going to die. But you could also use that time to fight back and possibly heal up or just at least killed the Mordekaiser.
Okay.
And I feel like the whole idea about enslaving the dead was more fitting to Mordekaiser at that time. So for the Ruin King, I think he wouldn't enslave the dead because he doesn't like the dead, actually. Because it's all, like, you know, his wife's dead, and that's not good. So maybe he would do something different with them.
I'm trying to think, because a big source of this sort of stuff, I'll try and keep this actually all on one page, because I realise this is actually falling off the stage. Off the page. YG David, yes, I still do MC5 commentary. I do it every single weekend. I guess since you're asking that, perhaps you haven't watched for a while. There'll be stuff this Saturday coming, I believe, if you're looking for MC5 stuff. I think there's also, sorry, happy to just complete sidebar thing. I think there's also going to be a Dulzy podcast coming up that will have some cool stuff in it. But anyway, back to this. There we go, this is on one page now. So, I'm thinking that maybe like a corpse explosion kind of thing.
Like Lyssandra's passive?
Oh, maybe I'm not thinking the right thing actually. Well, I'm thinking that maybe like this is completely pulled out of my butt. But how about when he? Because I think I like the curse idea as well. I think that's, and I think you're also right that making a ghost seemed a little bit crass for someone who's. But maybe he puts a curse on somebody, which is a little bit like a Vladimir thing, where it amplifies the damage done to them. But that maybe he chooses a particular target, and the more damage he does to them over a period of time, the bigger the explosion is. Like they kind of build up like a sort of reactor core kind of thing on them.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's like basically like a Tristana E, really. But more dramatic, I suppose.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Glorified Tristana E. I feel like it probably needs a little bit more. Can you think of anything to add on to that would make it more compelling? Like, maybe does it play with his cooldowns or something?
Maybe he gets partly reset. So if he kills the one person he ulted, he gets like one part of the reset, and then if the explosion also kills someone, he gets another part of the reset. So the more people he kills with the ult and the ensuing damage of the explosion, the more of a reset he gets.
Okay. So it's kind of like you get a Darius Gillard scene kind of thing going on. Where if you find a target and blow them up, you can kind of start bringing back up your other abilities.
Yep.
And going on a rampage.
Right.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. I think that also makes sense of him being sort of a brawler where he wants to get right up in the fight.
True.
Yeah, I like it. I do apologise for the... Actually, I think most of the spelling's okay, but there's probably some things in there which are weird. And I think some of it's just technical terms it just doesn't understand. Okay. What would we call this ultimate?
So it's a curse, right?
Yes. It's the curse of the explode and kill your buddies.
Yeah. That's a good name.
It's a sacrifice, I suppose?
Maybe. But like all of the people he kills are sacrifices to his end goal, aren't they?
Grand sacrifice?
Yeah.
It sounds dramatic, and that's really what we're looking for here.
Right.
Okay.
Not like whack 'em good.
Yes, I know, right? Some of these ability names definitely need to have some work done on them.
Maybe.
But yeah, alright, I think that's pretty good. We're 50 minutes in, which is, you know, roughly in the right area. Okay, so... Happy, do you mind? So, would you be really upset if I called this three Restorim the Ruin King?
I mean, I don't know. Just call him what you want.
Okay. I'll preserve your sanity as much as the Ruin King has not got his.
Wow.
Okay, so if we go through the, I don't know if we should like I guess just alternate things. So we just run through the kit then, because we think we basically just got it.
Nice.
So yeah. Well, do you want to take passive and I'll go for the Q, and we'll just swap backwards and forwards. Just a quick summary. Oh yeah, I don't think that's clear. Alright, so I'll just run through it. So we've got the Ruin King. He's a brawler mage kind of character who's the sort of design intention with him is to motivate him to build Blade of the Ruin King. He's an AD caster with long cooldowns, and he reduces those long cooldowns by auto attacking people. And he's kind of short ranged in a Rakan kind of sense, where it's like it's not melee, but it's not a million miles away from it either. Happy, could you take us through the Q?
The Q, not the passive?
Oh yeah, passive and Q. The passive is so small.
Yeah, the passive is just the idea that he gets lifesteal from his spells, so every time he uses a spell he gets lifesteal. And his auto attacks reduce the cooldowns of his spells by a small amount. But wait, I'm not sure if a small amount makes sense.
You think it should be a large amount?
Q? Maybe for the Q, but not for like the W or the E. Or well, I guess it depends. If each auto attack reduces the cooldown by a small amount, it might be good. But if it's like for every 4 auto attacks you get 1 second refund.
Well, do you think maybe it should be a proportional amount?
Yeah.
Okay, let's change that.
That's good.
So it would be like, I don't know. Actually, not even. There you go, I can't spell either. But yeah, okay, so it's like you know, a percentage from each spell, so the longer ones come down by amount. But I guess you're missing out more if you don't auto attack it with the longer cooldown ones because it's more significant.
Right, that's what the whole idea of building Borg was about.
Okay, cool.
Then the Q, yeah, it's either a hook or a javelin that you can throw, and its range is extended by, for example, killing a minion or killing like a champion that's in front of it. And right, the intention is to hook an opponent and then hit them enough to hook them again. So it's like hook a lit. Yeah, it's the main I would say the main engaged tool for laning, because the W would just be overkill in that sense.
Mm.
Yeah, right. And the great and glorious Hookalin holds your opponent in place for a short amount of time, and if you just get the hook back up fast enough, you can essentially freeze them in place.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. So it's feeding off the whole idea of the Smite Blitzcrank thing. That I guess you're sort of talking, it's double up kind of territory as well, where you just can't afford to stand behind a minion.
Or behind a low HP. What's the opposite of enemy? Friend.
Yes. So the W is probably, I think that was one of the cooler abilities. In fact, I think it's the cooler ability, which is like, it's Realm Warp, but only for the Ruined King. That has a kind of, that he teleports partway through to, maybe, like, I don't know if there's a sort of balance thing that maybe he can only, like, it's got a minimum range or something like that. So it's not just kind of like, go anywhere at any time.
No, that would be dumb. But maybe it's tied to champions being in that place, the same way Galio's ult is tied to
Oh, that's a cool idea.
your teammates being in that place. So you can only put the Glimpse of the Death Realm down in a spot where your enemies are.
Okay, so it can only be deployed in vision, maybe. Yeah, near enemies. Okay, we can figure out the specifics of that at some point. Well, I mean never. But so then we've got the E, which is the imaginatively named Whack 'em Good, which is an auto attack reset that lets you buff your auto attack range, and then gives you an auto attack steroid for a short duration. The idea behind this being to give the Ruined King a way to get that first hit off, and then give him a sort of obvious window where the opposition can hit them out of, or stun them, so that they lose out on some of the significant amount of their damage output.
Right. Yeah, then the ultimate, the grand sacrifice. We were thinking about the old Mordekaiser ult, but also I guess every other ult that has either a dot effect or like an effect where, like the Death Mag from Zed, or whatever the ult from Vladimir is called.
A Hemoplague.
Oh right. So you put a mark on someone and then you can I can't read. I was reading Thanksgiving there. It doesn't say Thanksgiving. Anyway, you put a mark on someone and then
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, I read.
Yeah.
As soon as you said Thanksgiving, I was like, that does say Thanksgiving.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, but you attack the people and then the more damage you deal to them while they are cursed or marked or whatever, the bigger the explosion at the end is. So if the person who is marked dies, they explode, and the explosion obviously deals damage, as explosions typically do. And if you manage to kill other enemies with that explosion, it adds to, I guess, the passive of the ultimate, where you get a partial cooldown for each person you kill with the R, and the explosion is part of the R, so yeah.
Yeah, so you could be the person who casts it on the person near them.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. I think that makes sense. So I think the only remaining thing is for each of us to come up with a line for the Ruined King to say, and then have the other person say it. So the line which I'd like you to deliver as the Ruined King would be, I'm proper sad, me. I miss me wife. A proper lot.
What the heck? Wait, I can't see it, and I didn't like write it down.
There you go. It should be on the page now.
I'm proper sad, me. I miss me wife a proper lot.
Brilliant. This is already the most compelling character. Alright, what incredibly well written line would you like me to deliver?
I don't know. I didn't come up with anything. Oh my god.
That's why I just went for the most stupid thing I could think of.
Hmm.
Hmm?
Hmm.
How about trumpet noises?
Yeah, I feel like that would totally fit his theme.
There you go. He was a big fan of playing the trumpet when he was
Oh
alive.
yeah, maybe he has one, and he's like the biggest fan of Bard.
So he's got the skeleton trumpet meme going on.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
I feel like we should now just redesign his whole character just to be that meme.
Maybe next time.
Alright, cool. Yeah, that'll do
Nice.
us. So that's Champions Design Workshop number 8, all done and dusted. Thank you guys for dropping by and spending your afternoon with us. And thank you, of course, to Happy for stepping in for Exodus, who couldn't make it along today.
Hey.
We'll have to see what happens in the future. I hope we can work together again down the line, Happy.
Yeah, sure. Whenever I have time, or you have time, or maybe... I don't know. Maybe Exodus is with us next time again.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd love to get all 3 of us on the stream at some time if the scheduling works out, which I know is always a nightmare.
This would be really chaotic, I can already tell.
So, would you like to advertise any of your social medias or anything in case anyone doesn't have them already?
You already have the Twitter handle, and I feel like that's enough.
Okay. So yes, Happy Light Sense in the bottom left of the screen. But yeah, guys, thank you for dropping by. I'm going to try and get back into doing these more regularly. I think if, with a couple of people, collaborators, and maybe you might even try and pick up another one, and get these going a bit more on the regular. And then hopefully make it more a thing. For any of you aspiring champion designers out there, I think who was it who posted up about it? I'm going to have a quick look because I retweeted it just so I would have it saved. The Mark Yetter, that is at Mark Yetter on Twitter, MarkYetter. He posted a thread about the League of Legends Champions Design team, which I'll post into the chat. And from there you can ask, there's a bunch of different League of Legends champion designs that I'm definitely going to try and figure out questions to ask of. But he's probably sort of thrown it open to say, if you've got any champion design questions, you ask those guys. So I'm hopefully going to be able to get some information out of them to maybe level up what we're doing here a bit and have it make a bit more sense. Yeah, well, that's it for today. So Happy again. Thank you for coming along. And hopefully see everybody else next week. Can we get a final trumpet to send us out? Thanks.